For consultations, tutoring, and courses, please visit laurabharatastrologer.com. And if you like my videos, please like and subscribe. Thank you. Hello everyone. Today's video is about Napata Yogas. And Napata means celestial. And these are very important yogas. They are mentioned in several Indian astrology texts, especially Brihat Jataka, which devotes an entire chapter to these yogas. There are 4 types of Napata yogas. Ashraya Yoga, and Ashraya means resting place, and those are yogas based on the type of signs that the planets rest in. The second type of Napata yoga is Dala Yoga, which means petal, and that yoga has to do with whether there are benefics or malefics in angles, okay? And I'm going to talk about those today. And the third is Shankya, or number, and that has to do with the number of signs the planets occupy in the horoscope, not including Rahu or Ketu. And the fourth is Akriti, or form yoga, and this is much like in Western astrology, you have planetary configurations like the finger of God and that type of thing. These are very similar to that, and they have to do with the form of the planets in the sky, what kind of object they look like, and what that means as a whole in the horoscope. These are foundational yogas, meaning they are not dasha dependent, meaning they run throughout the entirety of a native's life, okay? So to get started, the first one is Ashraya Yoga, and that has to do with how many planets are in either dual signs, movable signs, or fixed signs. If you have more planets in movable signs, which is Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, if most of your planets are in these signs, then that is called Raju Yoga, or rope yoga. And that makes a person more disposed to traveling throughout their lifetime. They move around a lot. They like to begin things and initiate things, and they're very ingenious with what they initiate and the new ideas that they have. But they have problems sticking to something and seeing a project through to its completion. They tend to do well in living in places far away from their birthplace and also in foreign countries. Now, let's say that there are 7 planets. Let's say you have 3 planets in movable signs, 3 planets in dual signs, and 1 planet in a fixed sign. So you kind of have a balance of both. Well, you would look at that as roughly half of your life is ruled by moving around a lot, initiating things, starting things, and having all these great ideas, but not really having the wherewithal to finish it. But then another half of your life is when you are very stable and very you like to really work hard and you see projects through, so that would balance it out, okay? And that yoga, when more planets are in fixed signs, that's called Musala Yoga, and that is the fixed signs of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. If you have most of your planets in those signs, then you're very steadfast, okay? You can be relied on, and other people think of you as a rock. You don't move around a lot. These people tend to really work hard to build something, and they build something over a long period of time. They're not as ingenious or pioneering as the Raju rope yoga people, which are the people who have most of their planets in movable signs, but they are the ones that carry the projects through, and they actually end up taking credit for those projects, believe it or not, because they actually worked on those projects a lot longer than the person who came up with the idea. Now, Raju Rope Yoga, the yoga where most of the planets are in movable signs, a lot of the texts say that these people have some envy, they have some jealousy, and it takes them a long time to build up wealth. Now that would make sense, because when you're moving around a lot and you're not completing projects and you're not staying in one place for a very long time, that does tend to kind of disrupt a person's life, and they're not building a foundation. And that foundation is constantly changing because they're moving around or they're moving jobs all the time. So that kind of lends to when the ancient texts say that these people tend to be not as wealthy as the other two types of yogas, and they also tend to be envious because they have great ideas. They have the most ingenious ideas, but when they put them out there for other people to complete, and when other people complete these ideas, they tend to be envious because they didn't put all the work in to see this idea come into fruition and manifest reality. Okay? So yeah, that's Raju Rope Yoga, or when the majority of the planets are in movable signs. The second one is Musala, where the majority of planets are in fixed signs. And these people do tend to build a foundation, a steady foundation. These people are the kind of people that live on the same street their entire lives. They never move, and they don't like to change. They don't like to travel that much. And yeah, so they really build a strong foundation for themselves. Now, the third is called Dala Yoga, and that means a reed or a grass. And a grass and reed, these things have many uses. You can do all kinds of things with them in the old times, not so much in the modern world anymore. But this yoga is when the majority of planets are in dual signs, and this is actually the most sought after yoga, or I guess you could say the most beneficent and the most the yoga that give things the most easily and readily. And so this is when the majority planets are in Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, or Sagittarius. And these people can do both. They have great ideas. They like to start things, but they also have the wherewithal and the steadfastness to complete what they started. And they can easily, if they need to move, they can move around and start over again. And then they can build a foundation at the new place where they were and move up from there. They have qualities of both the movable signs and the fixed signs, so they have both. Now, they tend not to be as ingenious with ideas or pioneering with ideas as the Raju Rope Yoga people, but they will take what is available to them. They get new ideas and inspiration from things that are already in their lives. And so they're not quite as pioneering, but they can be. But they also have that extra bonus of being able to see a project through and to be steadfast in their endeavors. Okay? Now, like I mentioned before, if you have about an equal number of planets in two of these yogas, or kind of an equal number of planets distributed throughout all three of these yogas, you have to look at it as your life is 50-50. You know, half of the time you're a Raju Rope Yoga person, or you're a Nala Reed person, and half of the time you're a fixed sign person, you know, where you're very steady and steadfast and stay in one place, you know, whatever it is. But usually people have, the more, one or more, they have more planets in one type of sign. And that is the type of signs, that is the type of the yoga that will kind of guide your life. Okay? Now, so yeah, those are the 3 Asraya Yogas. Now, moving on to the second type of Napata yoga, that's called Dala Yoga, which means petal. This has to do with if there are more malefics or benefics in angles. Okay? And this is whether these malefics or benefics conjoin an angular cusp, or if they do not join a cusp, if there is no cusp, if it is an angle, if it's a sign that's an angle from the ascendant. Okay? Now, if you have more benefics in angles, that's called mala or rosary yoga. And that's a very beneficial yoga because when benefics are in angular houses, that usually makes things come easily, much more easily. You don't really have to work for them. You don't have to do a lot for good things to come to you. It's part of your karmas. And now if you have let's say you have an equal number of malefics and an equal number of benefics and angles in your chart. If that's the case, then half of your life is going to be easy. Usually when that dasha is running of that planet that's in the angle, if it's a benefic, and when half of your life you're going to have to work really hard to make things manifest in your life. And that is when those dashas of those malefic planets are running. Now, it's much more beneficial to have Mars or the Sun conjoin the 10th house cusp than it is to have Mars or the Sun on the 4th house cusp. And that I explained in my last video called Digbala, Planetary Strength. Because those 2 malefics, the Sun and Mars, do extremely well when they are conjoined the 10th house, or in the 10th sign from the ascendant. So that, yeah, that's a caveat of that rule. So, but in generally speaking, when you have more malefics in angles, that's called Sarpa or serpent yoga. When you have more malefics in angles, you're going to have to work for what you get. You do have the wherewithal, you have the consistency, you have the mindset to work for that. That's what those malefics and angles will give. So yeah, and then as another example, let's say you have Moon or Venus conjoin the 10th house cusp. That isn't going to be as beneficial as if the Moon or Venus was in the 4th house, because the Moon and Venus get Digbala in the 4th house. And please see my last video where I explained Digbala. But those are kind of little tweaks you can do to this yoga, this Dala Yoga, being malefics or benefics in the angular houses. The angular houses are houses of manifestation and our most intense karma, because the 1st house is us, the 4th house is our home, the 7th house is our spouse, and the 10th house is our career. These are the building blocks of our lives. And when there's benefics in these building blocks, the foundation is easily built. When there's malefics in these houses, then the person has to work harder. There's going to be some challenges in these areas of life, but the person has it within them to meet those challenges. Okay? So that's today's video, and if you have any questions, please write them in the comment section. And also, if you like my videos, please like and subscribe, okay? And thanks for watching. Bye.